Okay, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Live from the Sword Coast podcast. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly dungeon master this evening. With me tonight is one of the regular fixtures of really all of our sessions in this on the channel, Jeffrey.
Hey, everybody.
So tonight we're going to be continuing on with either our Rise of the Runelords game or our Pirates of Drinax game, but unfortunately we found recently. Oh, one second here. Let's see. Just going to check. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Just want to make sure we're streaming. We're going to be playing, as I said, the Rise of the Runelords game for the Pirates of Drinax campaign, but unfortunately, Steve is unavailable tonight. So what we're going to do is, for the upcoming session, we have for the upcoming Shadow of the Demon Lord session. I guess in our last session, Jeff's character, his PC, unfortunately shuffled off this mortal coil and died. So Jeff's going to be playing a different character in that campaign. So what we're going to do tonight instead is we're going to create that character that he's playing. Now it's going to be a little more restricted in terms of what the character, like what options Jeff's going to have, just because it's a character that's filling a narrative role in the game. But there still will be plenty of options for Jeff to make some cool selections. So why don't we hop into roll 20, and then I will create that character for you. And we will get to putting some stats to this concept. So let's this again. All right. I was actually hopping in and out of a bunch of Roll20 games before we logged on to try and figure out what we might do tonight, because Steve wasn't around. And all of what happens with Roll20 is when you look into the game, it puts it at the top of the queue. So I've got games that I either haven't run or have not run in a very long time at the near the top of my queue right now. Let's see here.
Oh yeah, it added them for me too.
No, did it? So not Pirates of Drinax, not where is it here? Not Iron Gods, not that. What the heck is it? Shadows of the Scales of War. Here we go. Launch game. All right. So Jeff and I have corresponded a little bit online about what this character will be, or what options he had for continuing on. And what we've landed on is Jeff is actually going to be playing a character who is, well, you didn't know this, Jeff, but he is actually the founder of the order, the order to which Oberon and Halen are members.
Cool.
So
he's old.
He is very, very old, yeah. So, and do you remember in one of the recent, no, excuse me, actually I'm not going to put it in all characters' journals, I'm going to put it just in yours, Jeff, so only you can see this thing. We're going to surprise the other players with it. All right, so you can see the character name Zerai now.
Oh,
drag him down into the character section here. Oops.
Yep, there he is.
Okay, I need to modify something here. He's not an NPC. He's a PC. There we go. All right. He is level 8. So this will be interesting. All right, and his name is Zerai. So what Zerai is, you may remember that when Rakus was talking to the man with the canaries in his dream, that there was a what do you call it? That there was. Did I pause it? Come on here. I did the wrong thing. Let me make sure the stream is still going. Yeah, perfect. He mentioned that there was one person, or one of the Gith and Kai, who objected to the deal that was being made with Mephistopheles. It was the deal that Mephistopheles had brokered with Tiamat to give the Gith Zerai control of the, or sorry, the Gith and Kai control over the dragons, the red dragons. And that's partly what they use to cast off their masters, the slavers who had them before. This, the one person who recognized that was Zerai. Zerai recognized that, like, no, this is not worth the cost of casting off by throwing our lot in with a demon princess and a devil. But so pressing was the need or the feeling of wanting to cast off the shackles that they didn't look too closely at it. And the rest of the leaders of the Gith threw their lot in with Mephistopheles, and that's where we find ourselves now. So over time, knowing what these people had become, recognizing that his own people had become the same type of scourge that they were looking to cast off, Zerai went around to all the different worlds of existence using a very ancient artifact that was gifted to him from some other source. And using this artifact, he was able to travel the worlds. And on each world that he felt might be threatened by the growing armies of his people, he trained or established orders that would fight against them, that would try and defeat them. And those, he obviously couldn't stay behind because there was just so many of his people who were now, preying on the rest of the multiverse, that the best he could do would be to try and arm as many different places as he could. And that's what he had been doing for his very, very long life. More recently, he has seen that things have been coming to a head, that it seems to be an opportunity to finally intervene and right a wrong that his people did, to correct an error that they had done, to take back a misstep. And that's to eliminate the last chain that he felt is that is shackling his people, and that is, of course, the agreement with Tiamat. And it's actually, again, just to reiterate, the agreement that is currently filed or marked with the seal of the Arbiter and filed in the eternal, Tome of Eternal Concordance, or I think that's what it's called. That deal is actually between Mephistopheles and Tiamat, not between the Gith and Tiamat. It gifts the dragons to the Gith, or to the Gith and Kai, but it doesn't give them. They can't. It's not them who, I guess, who is signatory to the contract. So what you're doing, Zerai is doing, is he is seeing this as an opportunity to void that contract and then take these dangerous and corrupting creatures out of the hands of his people. Taking them away from these. It's, for one, a step towards redeeming his people, and also it takes away one significant weapon that his people have. So you're actually allied with the man with the canaries.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now, in terms of his actual abilities here, or his ancestry, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to use human for this, because
so he's technically Gith and Kai.
No, he's not. He's actually not Gith and Kai. He's Gith.
Oh, he's Gith. Okay.
Yeah, so his ancestry is Gith. And then what we do it at your first, novice rank, so at 0, this would have been him when he was still a slave. And let me just see if there's any, because I think a slight psychic bent might be kind of cool for him, but I can't think of any ancestries that specifically would fit that. Let me just double check here. Let's see if there's anything that jumps up. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take a look at my buddy Mike Myler's Mists of the Kuma, because there is a kind of neat psychic race that's in, or psychic ancestry that's in there. I just want to see what their ability is. Because if that fits, that might be a cool opportunity to try that out. Okay, so what do these guys do? They actually, this might be kind of cool. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll use this. So your strength is going to start at an 8.
Like we're going to go through each level one by one.
Yeah, we'll go through one by one, and then we'll develop what the character is. Okay, so your strength is 8. Your agility is an 11. Your intellect is a 10. Your will is a 10. Your perception is equal to your intellect, so it's 10. Your health equals your strength score. Strength is currently at 10, so we'll put that down a bit. Your healing rate is 1/4 of your health, which is already automatically calculated thanks to this awesome character sheet. Your speed is an 8, so you're slightly slower. Oh, where is it here? Wrong way. I'm zigging when I should be zagging. Come on. There we go. Your size is a 1. Your language is going to be, so under languages, you can record Common and Old Tongue. I'll let you do that. Do you have the character sheet open? Oh, do you? Okay, great. Okay, oh, perfect. Now, here are the special abilities. So we'll go under talents, and then I'll put the edit thing on so we can actually add some. There we go, we'll add a talent. Your first talent is called Meta Creative. And what this is by spending an action, you can telekinetically move unattended objects of a weight no greater than double your intellect score within 5 yards. Okay, so got that.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. The race I'm basing this on, for those listening at home, is the Gith derived from Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm going to try and give this sort of that vibe, but let it be its own thing, because we've really already done a lot of departures from traditional D&D stuff in our campaign anyway. Okay, so that is your first one, is Metacreative. Second one you get is Shadow Sight. So you see areas obscured by shadows as if they were lit. What are we doing here? That tabbing through is just not cutting the mustard. And next thing you get is telepathy. You can communicate telepathically within 20 yards. So that's allies or adversaries. So I think that would definitely fit kind of the psychic race that we were thinking of. Oops. Okay, and the next thing you get is mental focus. So you pick one of these two things. Your will becomes an 11, and you can use Metacreative as a triggered action, or your intellect becomes an 11, and you're able to mentally communicate over great distances with creatures well known to you. After spending at least a week with another creature, you're able to send and receive messages from them via telepathy as long as they're within range, 1 mile per 2 levels you possess. Sending messages is an action, and receiving messages is a triggered action. So which do you think he would focus on? Do you think he would focus more on the telekinetic aspect or on the telepathic aspect?
I think as like the founder of this thing and someone who's gone around building this network of different groups, then it would probably be the communication thing, the telepathy.
Okay, I agree with that. So let me go over here. I'm going to bump your intellect up by 1, which means your perception also goes up by 1. So that's pretty awesome. And you, okay, and I'll add grounded as your next talent. character sheet as well too. I'll just give a shout out. I honestly don't know who the designer was who updated the Roll20 character sheet, but this was done about maybe 5 or 6 months ago, and it's just amazing. This new character sheet is one of my favorites in Roll20. So thank you very much to whoever the person was who was behind this.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
For those listening at home too, one of my not pet peeves, but one of my sort of house rules is that I require the players to have all the rules for their abilities listed in Roll20 so that we never have to look shit up in the rule book. Jeff knows I'm a bit of a tyrant with that.
It's much easier. It is way faster though in gameplay.
Totally, yeah. Especially with how nicely it displays in the chat. Maybe it's not making for the greatest of video.
Well, give some people an insight into what it's like to make these characters, and it's
yeah, totally.
It's not all storytelling at this point. Sometimes there's the bookkeeping of getting your character together.
And that's one of the things that is really I think nice about the Shadow of the Demon Lord game is that you do get to make, I think you'll see as we go through this, that you do get to make some really interesting decisions about your character as you go along, and it's neat seeing the way the different choices you make in terms of your paths are influence the outcome of your character at the very end. So, and just as a quick shout out as well, I am using this is the Sonoris ancestry from Mike Myler's very cool Mists of Akuma product. It's a very neat kind of like steampunk, what do you call it? Steampunk fantasy Asia game that is published for both 5th edition D&D and for Shadow of the Demon Lord. It's a great book. Okay, so that is the ancestry. Now, at 4, we know you're going to hit the level 8, so we'll see what happens at level 4. Make any... Ooh, interesting. So in addition to that ability, Jeff, at level 4, your grounded also gives you 1 boon on will challenges made to resist abilities and spells.
Oh, that's a nice feature.
Yeah.
Magic users are definitely one of the toughest enemies to fight, so...
For sure, yeah. All right, so that is that. Your shadow sight is upgraded to dark vision at that level. So I'll change that shadow sight to dark vision. So shadows or darkness. Pretty great. I think you might be the only character who has dark vision now then. That's kind of neat. You also will gain +4 to your health. So let's just add that in now. Health's now 12. And you either learn 1 spell or you increase your attribute by 1. So, oh, yes, okay. So we're going to keep that in the back of our mind, and we'll make the decision for your... I don't see this character as being a spellcaster. I see
no, me neither. So probably it'll be an attribute thing.
Yeah, okay, so we'll just keep that in the back of our mind that we need to... What I'll do is I'll add it into chat so we don't forget. 1 attribute. Oopsies. Attribute. All right, here we go. Okay, so now the thing I was looking for here is... so the next thing we pick after the ancestry is your novice path. And I can see arguments for this character to be either a warrior with a specialty of martial artist from Bred for Battle.
Yeah.
Or as a rogue with the because one of the new books that came out was at the time of recording is Natural Born Scoundrels, which is a cool Paths of Shadow book that expands the novice path for Rogue. Now, the one that I was thinking of for this, and it may seem a little, where is it here? Okay, where's the special? Here we go. Rogue talents, not academic, not adventurer, not dabbler. I don't think either. Let's see. So there's one that's called Insider. What it does is when you get a success on an attack roll, you can choose one creature within short range and you can see. You grant the target creature one boon on the next attack roll it makes before the end of the round. And you also get an ability called Crush Them. When a creature makes an attack roll with the boon granted by your Incite to Violence talent, the attack deals 1d6 extra damage. So it's similar to the Priest's ability, where it can grant the boon and then eventually it gains a bonus to them as well.
Right.
And the description for this one is you might take a stand against tyranny, injustice, or evil, or you might fight against an institution, organization, or people dedicated to a cause that you abhor. So the way that I think thematically fits is because he is struggling against the like an overwhelmingly powerful empire, effectively like maybe not empire because the Gith and Kai don't conquer, but like a people, I guess, or organization. Another option you get with the new Rogue thing is Skirmisher, which is you can use a move action, so you can use an action to move up to half your speed. This movement does not trigger free attacks. At any one point during this movement, you can make an attack, and the attack deals 1d6 extra damage. And then the other ability you get is Fleet-footed, which is you can use, when you use Skirmish, you can move up to your speed instead of half your speed. What the fuck is the difference there?
Wait,
second time, that's right, never mind.
That's part of the same one?
Yeah, so that's if you take it a second time. That's if you take that talent a second time. Because remember, rogues get a choice, get to make, I think it's 3 choices of the talents that they gain over the course of their novice path. Neither one's not quite as good. The Insider one really seems like Incite to Violence. And forgive me, so Incite to Violence and Crush Them, that's if you take once and then a second time. So that's kind of neat. But the thing is, if we're thinking of this character as like a kung fu master, honestly, I think that what is this here?
Right, that kind of fits storyline wise really well, but it doesn't necessarily fit character concept wise that well.
No, and I think the monk, so it wasn't the martial artist, it's called the monk. So the monk is a new novice path that was published in Bred for Battle, and what monk does is like you get a bunch of cool martial arts shit, and then it synergizes actually pretty well with Mystic as an expert path, because there's a lot of ways it stacks the damage you're doing and the extra speed and shit like that. So
that's cool.
Yes, I think it might be a better. The only downside to it is it doesn't grant you a power bonus. So your key strike isn't quite as powerful, but it certainly makes up for it in other ways. Like it gives you even more unarmored defense. So your character's gonna be strolling around basically in robes, or like not robes, but like the priest's robes, like a Shinto priest kind of robes.
Right.
So let's see here. Yeah, I think that monk is probably. Do you have Bred for Battle available?
Yeah, let me just go to my email. I think you sent that.
Yeah, it's on. Let's see here, May 7th. I sent it, and I just love this. Is the second one. Or over the weekend, I was looking at the Google Plus community for this, and Robert Schwab had mentioned that we're going to be seeing similar products for both the priest and the magician base class, which is really fucking cool. Sorry, another priest. I don't know if we're getting more priest stuff. We are for sure getting more an expanded thing for the novice path, the magician. So that will be very, very, very cool. All right. So what? Do you have that open there, Jeff?
It's downloading.
Okay, so it's on page. Actually, I don't even know what page it's on. Page 11.
Let me just do this. I think it's smoother.
So what you'll gain is, first off, you get to choose 2 attributes and raise them each by 1. Now, let me double check. I think that unarmed is a finesse weapon, which means that you don't actually, you can use your agility instead of your strength, if your strength is puny. So let's see here. Unarmed strike is finesse. Yeah. So you don't want to raise your strength up and you want to sort of spread things around, or you don't want to raise it over 10. Right now you got a penalty of -2 your strength, which is not great. And actually, hold on, let's back up for a moment. First thing you can do, Jeff, is you can raise 1 attribute by 1 and you can lower another one by 1. So you can do a trade-off if you want. Do you want to do that at all?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think a nice balance to his stats in the end fits with his character. So, I mean, I guess I could smooth them out, but
sure. What you also get is, as a starting character, you will get 1 profession. So let's see here. Let's see. So why don't we roll? Give me a roll for a D6, please. Oh, it's actually, sorry, 2.
2d6?
Yeah, twice, because you get 2 professions. So 1 and a 5. So 1 is an academic and 1 is religious. That absolutely fits. Give me 2 D20 rolls, please. Man, I love this game. Like
19.
19. Okay. Oh, interesting.
And 11.
And what's religious? 11. All right. Okay. So under your under your professions, would you please add scholar scholar science, and then the next profession you'll gain is.
Wait, sorry, I was just closing a tab. Add what? Profession.
So it's scholar science.
Yeah.
And then the second one will be acolyte. Okay, so then turning to the monk novice path, first choice you get to make, Jeff, is choose 2 attributes and increase each of them by 1.
Okay. So what are the core attributes for this character? Probably
agility, for sure, and then probably strength. Like if you want to be effective at like a grappling kind of character.
Yeah, he probably doesn't want to keep his strength under 10.
No, because the strength becomes a target number for a lot of abilities.
Okay, so let's do agility. Yeah, and strength.
Okay, so your agility is a 12 and your strength is a 9. Awesome. I'm just going to ratchet up your defense as well, because your novice, your paths will grant you other bonuses to your defenses. So I want to keep it at parity with your agility as it goes up. And because your strength went up, your strength, so your health is going to go up by 1 as well too. Okay, so then you get +4 to your health. So your health is now a 17. And you get +2 to your speed. So your speed is back up to a 10. Then you can add either scholar philosophy or scholar theology to your list of professions.
I think probably theology would make the most sense with the character that we have planned. The scholar theology?
Scholar theology, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now I'm going to assume this character is not wearing armor or carrying a shield ever, and I'm just going to include his unarmored defense bonuses into his defense. If we, I can't imagine he's ever going to, you know, don plate mail or something like that. So right now your defense is a 15. And then you got 3 talents that you'll gain. So your novice path is a monk. Not a monk, the monk. And under talents, let's add. First up is defensive recovery, which, let's see, open up the space there. Defensive recovery, you can use an action or a triggered action on your turn to heal damage equal to your healing, right? So this is the sort of the default healing ability that all novice paths get. But until the end of your next turn, you make challenge rolls to resist attacks with 1 boon. And you impose 1 bane on attack rolls made against you. You're sort of on the defensive, both spiritually and physically. What I put down is once you use this talent twice, you must wait until you complete a rest. And the reason I'm doing that is because I know that at, I think it's level 8, you get a second use of this ability.
Right.
Or save me going back and making that alteration. All right, and then the next thing you get, as well, it seems, is martial arts. So when you attack with an unarmed strike and use a melee attack option, remember those attack options page found on page 50 of the core book? You reduce the number of banes imposed by the option by 1. So basically, what you get to do, I think all of them impose 1 bane, but you can do all of those things like pushing, shoving, you know, disarming, shit like that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe not disarming. I might be wrong about that one, but I know for the things like knocking someone back or, you know, I think maybe trip might be one as well. No. We'll take a look. There's maybe I'll let you read them off because I'm just fucking randomly jabbering things out here.
Like under melee attack options?
Yes, that's the one.
When you make an attack with a melee weapon, you can choose one of the following options. Driving attack. You make an attack roll with 1 bane. On a success, you and the target move a number of yards equal to your strength modifier in the same direction. Guarded attack. You make the attack roll with 1 bane, but the next creature you make an attack roll against your But the next creature to make an attack roll against your defense before the end of the round does so with 1 bane. Lunging attack, you increase your reach by 1 yard, but you make the attack roll with 1 bane. Shifting attack, you make the attack roll with 1 bane. On a success, your movement does not trigger free attacks from the target until the end of the round. Or unbalancing attack, you make the attack roll with 1 bane. On a success, if the target is your size or smaller, it must make an agility challenge roll. On a failure, the target falls prone.
That's awesome.
So because of unarmed combat, you can use those abilities?
Because of unarmed combat training? No, because of martial arts. You can use all of those without suffering one bane.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's free to use those things.
Oh, man, I'll have to be sure to take advantage of those.
Also, take a look at Forbidden Rules, because they introduce a couple of extra ones in there. I actually used those when I played Shadow of the Demon Lord. I actually made use of those a lot. There's one called when was it? Overbear, I think, which allows me to knock them over or something like that, or knock. I can't remember.
Where are those?
In Forbidden Rules, the supplement with all the extra, like the optional rules in it. What I might do is I'll take a quick shot of just that one screen, so and keep it or upload it as that page and upload it as a handout, so that you'll have access to that. So you can just easily look in Roll20 and see what those options are. I'm just entering your next level's ability as well, which is Stunning Strike. So you know how every novice path has some ability that happens when you roll a 50 or higher, or at least all the warriors do and the rogues do? Jeff, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you get is when you roll 20 or higher and you beat the target number by 5 or more, your target becomes stunned until the end of the next round.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That is fucking bonkers good. Okay, and your health goes up by 4 more, so you now have 21 health. And I'm going to stack in. You also get Unarmed Prowess, which grants your unarmed strikes deal 1d6 extra damage. And I skipped one. Your unarmed combat training, when you make an attack roll with an unarmed strike, you do it with 1 boon, and your unarmed strike's damage becomes 1d3 unless it's already higher. So at level 2, you're doing 1d3 plus 1d6 damage with your unarmed strike, and you're getting to use one of those combat maneuvers for free, and you stun on a roll 20 or higher that beats the defense by 5 or more. You're going to be a badass unarmed fighter. Okay. Now, so that brings you to level 2. At level 3, you have to select your expert path. And my thought is that the Mystic is probably the appropriate selection for that. You think that sounds about right? Still...
Yeah, where's the Mystic from?
So the Mystic is in the Demon Lord's Companion.
1 or 2?
First one.
Okay, let me open that one.
And it's on page 13. Just let me know when you got that.
Yeah, it's opening.
Okay. Give me a D6 roll, will you? 2, please.
Okay. D6.
Oh, 1. Oh my God, you die. No, I'm kidding.
And let's make another character.
Yeah. So what I was getting your role is the Mystic Story Development. So this is something we haven't used in other campaigns before, but I thought it'd be neat to since we're filling out some backstory here. The story development, for those listening at home, each of the different paths gives you a story development. So you can randomly generate sort of the story moment that transitioned your character from whatever he was doing or she was doing before into this particular path. So a 1 means you experienced great loss or suffering, and you fled to a remote monastery. Having completed your training, you are ready to face the world once more. So that's cool. Where do you think Zerai went for his training? Like I think somewhere in the Outer Planes probably, because he's from some other bizarre place. Who do you think he got his training from? Mystics have sort of a psychic kind of divine sort of vibe to them.
Yeah, like would this be even like from another plane, like another dimension?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like options I'm thinking might be like if you want to go with some of the like play at the sort of like wizened master who you learn from, who was eventually killed. I wonder if like a cast-off or mutant or freak member of the race that enslaved your people, that's the person who found you, and you thought like, oh my god, them, and there was that tense moment where you thought you were going to have to stand up against this thing, and then you realize that it was an aberration from its normal type. It took you in and then trained you in basically the same type of, maybe not the same type of techniques or necessarily, but like some of the same principles that were behind the race that enslaved your people originally.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
Okay, cool. So then what you can, at level 3, you get a bunch of different options. So for 1, you can raise 2 attributes by 1 each. So which 2 do you want to raise?
Let's keep going with agility and strength.
Okay. So your strength will become a 10, and your agility becomes a 13.
Yeah. I'm clicking the things. They're just little tiny buttons.
Yeah.
I guess I could just type it. It's probably way faster.
Yeah, probably.
Those little controls are like...
Yeah, they're finicky. Okay, so I'm going to bump both your defense and your health up by 1 each as well to correspond with that. And you get +4 to your health. So your health is now at 26. And your power goes up by 1 because you are tapping into your mystic essence.
Wait, what's the name of this path? Martial artist.
No, mystic.
Oh,
mystic on page 13. So you also gain enlightened defense, which means if you're not wearing armor or wearing a shield, you have a bonus to your defense equal to 1 plus your power. And again, I'm going to assume that you're not ever going to be wearing armor or whatnot. So I'm just going to add 2 to your defense right now. Your defense is an 18. And I won't bother listing that ability because we just know what that is. You also gain Iron Fist. So your unarmed strikes now do 1d6, which means that with your unarmed prowess, with an unarmed strike, you're doing 2d6 as a base thing. Iron Fist. Let's see here. Okay. And you gain key focus, which means you can, it's got a bunch of different sort of neat abilities. You know what I'm going to do is with key focus, because Brent's character already has this, I'm just going to cut and paste it from his ability, because his character has Mystic as his expert path.
Yeah, I've used it with
Trader.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah, you're well acquainted with the Mystic. And I guess for those listening at home too, who may not be regular listeners of the channel, Jeff has said before that his favorite character class in sort of traditional D&D is always the monk, and that's why in a previous version or previous campaign we were playing Brent, or rather Jeff was playing a monk character, and then why I thought that would be a pretty fun replacement for you, Jeff, in this one is because it's just, I think it plays to the thing you like best. It's like Brent and his magic detectives, or like me and paladins.
Right, for sure.
Love playing with paladins. So when your key focus is, when your key is focused, you gain +1 to your defense and +4 to your speed, and you move at full speed across difficult terrain. So that's pretty badass. And you gain key strike, so you can discharge your key focus to do an extra d6 of damage with your what do you call it? With your, it's a number of, sorry, it's a number of d6s equal to your power, but I can't remember what your power is going to be just yet at max level. So we'll just do that as we go. And it's 1d6 damage. This is key strike. Whoop, check. One downside I can think of right now by not going with the rogue is that because Brent's way of sort of maintaining that key focus is he hits, and if he rolls over 20 and exceeds the defense by 5, what he'll do is he'll use that extra action to refocus his key.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that your character's not going to necessarily be able to do. Okay, so that's everything you get at level 3. So then you would hit level 4, which would be the benefit you got from your ancestry. And then you would hit level 5, and we've included that level 4 bonus from, oh, we've got to add one more to an attribute from your level 4 thing. So what would you like to, which attribute do you want to add to?
I'll increase my strength. So I'll go up to 11 now.
Okay.
He's been doing a lot of physical training in this part of his life.
Yeah. As part of this montage, he's doing push-ups and chin-ups.
Yeah, you guys can imagine him just doing all kinds of martial arts training at home.
Yeah.
And fighting some very deformed monster-looking character.
Totally, and training other people as he's going as well. So then, at level 5, you will get the next set of abilities from your expert path. So the level 5, sorry, from your novice path. So at level 5 as a monk, you gain +4 to your health. So your health becomes a 30 now. It's respectable.
Oh, nice.
Your speed goes up by 2 more, so your speed is now 12. And you gain unarmed expertise. When you use an action to attack with an unarmed strike, you either deal 1d6 extra damage with that attack, or you can make another attack with an unarmed strike against a different target at any point before the end of your turn. It's sort of like a flurry of blows type ability. So does that make sense, first of all?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, so let me, I'm just going to close off some of these existing abilities, because we've already typed them in. Man, I just love this character sheet so much. So good. Like, how easy was it for you guys when we switched over to this? How easy was it for you to pick up and play these characters?
Yeah, totally.
You know? Okay, so unarmed expertise. And let's see, what does it do? You know what I'm going to do? Actually, I can cut and paste Rakkus' ability, because he's got a similar ability. He is a warrior path as well, and I seem to rephrase a couple things in here. Oops, wrong fucking button. Wrong button. That one was, where is it? Combat expertise. Bingo. And paste that in there. And use an action to attack with not a weapon. And strike. You either deal 1d6 extra damage attack or you attack with the target. Okay. Unarmed strike. This is making you very deadly hand-to-hand combatant. Okay, so that is level 5. No other decisions are made at level 5. Then it becomes level 6. And level 6 is when you gain from your expert path. So what do you get as a mystic? Let's see, at level 6. Level 6, you gain +4 to your health. So I'm going to just do one thing here. I'm going to close off little Rakkus. Bye, Rakkus. And I'll close off. Actually, I'll keep Halo open, so I bet you'll have to cut and paste shit from there again. So first off, at level 6, you're going to gain +4 to your health. So your health is now a 34. And you gain healing trance. You can use an action to enter a healing trance. You remain in the trance for as long as you concentrate. While in the trance, you're defenseless, but you perceive your surroundings as if you were not. If you stay in the trance for 1 hour, you heal damage equal to your healing rate and remove 1 insanity. I haven't seen Brent actually use that because of the amount of healing potions you guys have had access to. But I guess that might be handy at a time. I'm trying to put a...
Yeah, it seems great in a pinch, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Where is it here? Healing.
I think it might be something that you will see Zerai use more.
Yeah.
I just picture him being a lot more old school than sort of Brent's character.
Yeah, and I think Brent's character also leaned more heavily into the spellcasting aspect, whereas your character seems to be more of the actual like kung fu type stuff. And so there's healing trance. And then the other ability you get at level 6 is Key Evasion. If you are conscious and get a failure on a challenge roll made to resist an attack, you can expend your key and turn the failure into a success. That is Key Evasion. It's neat. And because we use fortune points in our game with the optional rolls from Forbidden Rules, it's not quite as standout as it might be in a normal campaign, but so it actually gives you another use.
It still could be quite useful.
Sure, yeah. Well, especially with some of the spells you guys have been facing in the latter parts of the campaign now, too. Okay, so that was level 6. Next up is level 7, in which case you got to pick a master path. What's wrong with them? So the master path that feels like the natural progression for this character, obviously, is Martial Artist from Demon Lord's Companion. And what that would give you is you increase 3 of your attributes by 1 each. You gain some more speed and health. You gain even more bonuses to your defense. Your unarmed strikes will do an extra d6 points, d6 damage. That means you'd be doing 3d6 damage on your unarmed strikes. And then you would also gain a martial arts talent. And those are listed on page 21 of the Demon Lord's Companion.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, because I think like the other option might be Cenobite, because both of you guys advanced into Cenobite.
Oh, right, which would kind of have some synergy there, but
it would. I think like that would fit thematically. But here's the reason I think that Martial Artist is the better pick is because Cenobite plays into the way we've been playing it, plays into the idea of you tapping into your races, you know, like the people who came before you in the order, right? Like that the order survives as sort of a psychic remnant that passes on from member to member to member over the succeeding generations. That's not your guy. Zerai's the guy who founded all of those things.
Right,
so
like
yeah, so
yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Like it's more like that's what a follower of me might use.
Yeah.
Or like another way to look at it is both Oberon and I'm totally blanking on Brent's.
Halen
are like the last or the end of the members of these groups that I made, whereas I'm the opposite. I'm the founder. So
exactly.
Yeah. Like I think that it's it does make sense.
Okay. So you get to add +1 to 3 of your attributes.
Wow.
Because basically just pick which one you don't want to go up by 1.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, to sort of stay even. So what is agility? Agility is my like unarmed defense, right?
Yes, it's your defense. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's your unarmored defense.
Oh, and it'll also be for my unarmed strikes?
Right, because your unarmed strikes are finesse weapons, which means you can use your agility bonus instead of your strength bonus.
Okay, so let's just not increase will, I guess.
Okay, so go ahead and bump up those other 3. And I'll bump up your defense by 1 because your agility's gone up by 1. I'll bump up your health by 1 because your strength has gone up by 1. And if your will is going up, nothing has changed. No, sorry, if your intellect is going up by 1, then your
perception goes up, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I've already added the +2 speed and a +5 health. You also get +2 to your defense, and again, I'm just going to bump that up because I'm assuming you're not going to be wearing anything. So you're at 21 for defense right now, which is pretty fucking good.
Wow, nice.
It also, you know,
I
that
remember
means
that monks and this path led to a lot of defense for
yeah. And that's before any kind of like magic shit that's added to it too. So that's pretty freaking cool.
Oh, and so now I have to choose one martial arts talent.
Yeah. While you're looking at those, I'm just going to go over and add.
Did you add Fist of Fury?
Did I add Fist of Fury? No, not yet. I'm just going to do that right now.
Okay.
While you're selecting your.
Yeah, and I'll just read them out. So dodge missiles. When a creature attacks you with a ranged weapon, I can use a triggered action to impose 1d3 banes on the attack roll.
Wow.
If the total of the creature's attack roll is 0 or less, the attack used a thrown weapon or a weapon that does not use bullets, and the weapon is your size or smaller, I catch it. You can then throw it at a creature within medium range of you. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Then there's drunken fighting, which I don't see him using. But it's not, I mean, I guess maybe it's just the name for it. When you take damage from an attack made by a creature within your reach, you can use a triggered action to fall prone and halve the damage you take. The next time you attack the triggering creature before the end of your next round, you make your attack roll with 2 boons.
And we can reskin that descriptively. It doesn't need to be drunken. Like if you want to play, you can call it deceptive fighting even.
Right. Well, and I mean, if we're gonna make him an old man,
yeah,
it could be kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
He acts like it's his age and that he's feeble or whatnot. Like he's getting pushed around, so to speak. So he's falling over.
You know what I like about that is it sort of plays into the like Yoda-ish kind of like, initially presenting himself as a bumbling kind of character, but he's actually like really quite powerful and has a shit ton of knowledge.
Right, like this is actually quite dangerous method.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of interesting. Then he's got a flying kick as an option. You can use an action to choose one creature or object within a number of yards of you equal to your speed. You move up to your speed towards the target, ignoring difficult terrain. When the target is within your reach, you make an attack roll with an unarmed strike against it. And it does an extra d6 of damage.
That's cool.
Ground fighting. When you get a success on an attack roll to grab a creature of your size or smaller, you can use a triggered action to fall prone and force the grabbed creature to do the same. While grabbed and prone in this way, the creature cannot stand up and makes agility attack rolls to escape the grab with 3 banes. If the total of such an attack roll is 0 or less, the creature takes a d6 of damage. That's kind of fun.
Mm.
But I don't see myself ground fighting with dragons or characters with giant silver swords.
Because of the size of the things you're dealing with right now too, like they would get extra boons for every size difference.
Yeah.
So mechanically that's not going to be a great option. Wow, killing Palm is kind of cool.
So once you basically mark someone, and then every round for 1 minute, they make a challenge, a strength challenge, and if they fail, they take 1d6 damage.
So what that would be effective, just mechanically speaking, that would really only be effective against wizards or like puny things. Because anything that's got a decent strength, like an ogre or even like an orc or stuff like that, the likelihood of them making that strength challenge is probably pretty high.
So, Roundhouse kick lets you kick 2 people. Staggering strike. When the total of your attack roll with an unarmed strike is 20 or higher and exceeds the target's defense by 5 or more, You move the target up to 5 yards away from you. Before the end of the round, attack rolls against the target are made with a boon.
That's pretty cool.
Stunning strike. When you get a success on an attack roll with your unarmed strike, you deal half damage and force the target to make a strength challenge roll. On a failure, the target is stunned for 1 round.
That's actually a shittier version of your... It's not quite the same thing, but you've already got a really neat ability when you roll over 20 and over 5 to stun the thing. So you probably don't need another ability that does that.
So throw lets me use opposed strength checks to throw them 1d6 yards.
And your strength's not super huge.
And a whirlwind strike. When you use your action, when you use your action to use this talent, each creature you choose within 1 yard of you makes an agility challenge roll with 1 bane. On a failure, a target takes 2d6 damage and you can move it 1 yard away from you. So that's like to clear space around you.
Yeah.
So maybe the drunken fighting is kind of interesting.
Yeah, because you've only got like, you're gonna get 1 more level, but your strength. Hold on here. Your health is only a 40, which is like I think half of what Rakkus has.
Right.
Rakkus is just a fucking monster. But if you've got an ability to go prone and take half damage, and then you'll gain 2 boons when you attack that creature.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I like it. I think it's pretty... It could play out pretty fun at the table, like, and really surprise, like, Dave or some, or Brent.
Yeah.
They'll be like, what is with this guy? He's just getting shoved around.
I'm going to call it deceptive fighting instead of drunk fighting.
Yeah, I like that better, because I don't think he would be pretending to be drunk.
No.
I think he would be, I think he'd be playing the old man, so to speak.
I agree. Yeah, I like that. That's something I like about this idea is because it's actually like it's not how I pictured the creature or the character. I probably would have played him a lot more straight laced and whatever, and I actually like your idea better. It'll be a more interesting character and more. I think I'll leave it to you to decide when he wants to reveal who he is.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
But this is, so I guess one other bit of context for this character for those listening at home. Jeff's character, his other character, Oberon, had been in our downtime when we were, role-playing by email. He could feel that something was wrong as he was traveling. And he unfortunately failed his challenge rolls to try and figure out what was going on. And what it was that this character, Zerai, was actually stalking the party. So this is actually already was baked into the story with this character sort of following you guys behind. Okay, let's type this in here.
Yeah, and like you said, I think it could come in very handy to do this, like, sort of role playing to the fight but the mechanic of only taking half damage is pretty important for him, I think.
Absolutely, and the fact that there's no limit on it, as long as you you have to use a triggered action, but even then, like, what else are you using your triggered actions for?
Right.
So it's not it's not like it's taking away from your other action economy. Okay, so the final thing is that was your level 7. We entered your
8 is back to monk.
8 is back to monk. So as a monk, you're going to gain +4 to your health again. So your health is going to be a whopping 44. Not bad. You gain improved defensive recovery. So that's the one I had already added 2 in. And then unarmed mastery. When you use an action to attack with an unarmed strike, you either deal 1d6 extra damage with that attack, or you can make another attack against a different target at any point before the end of your turn. This talent is cumulative with unarmed expertise, but you must choose a different target for each additional attack. So that means you could, in theory, do like 5d6 damage with your unarmed strike.
Wow, that's pretty good. That makes it like basically on par with the amazing sword that Dave is wielding.
Well, and we haven't given you your magical item yet either.
Right.
So let's, 1 second here, I just want to add that in.
That's pretty good.
That's a pretty fucking badass ability. And I think what I'll do is, I believe that's very similar to what is turn Galen off for edits. Dave has an ability like that, or Rakus, I should say, has an ability like that. I don't know if Dave can attack that viciously. But here we go, combat mastery. So let me go into the edits. Great. You know, and one thing I'll say for the folks listening at home too, just a little Roll20 thing that I discovered that I found really helpful. If you want to enter something in, if you're playing with any character sheet where there is, you know, the opportunity to add in your text for your different abilities, if you ever want it to roll dice for you, all you do is just add in the 2 square brackets, like what I'm highlighting right here. So what you do is you put square bracket, then whatever your dice roll is, like I've got it down as 1d6, but you could put it as 3d6 plus 2 or whatever, and then 2 closing square brackets, and it will roll for you. It's a pretty handy way of incorporating a dice roll if that's what you need for your ability. And that's not specific to this character sheet, it's for any character sheet. So I'll just show you here. So when I roll it, you can see that it actually rolls the d6 in the chat. So if you are entering your own stuff at home, that is one little helpful tip that I have found to be very helpful in the course of playing with Roll20. Now I'm just going to organize this stuff to be in alphabetical order here. So let's see here, defensive, we'll go there, telepathy will go to the bottom-ish. Martial arts, go there, unarmed strike, stunning strike goes before telepathy. Oopsies, but after martial arts. Come on, martial arts, what are you doing? There we go. Unarmed combat training, unarmed prowess. Iron fist goes after right there. Key focus goes before stunning strike. And strike goes after that. Right there. Yep. Then key evasion will go before either of those. Fists of Fury will go before Iron Fist. Then Trance goes before Iron Fist. And actually, it goes before Grounded. Oh, fuck, I screwed up. Screwed up because I don't know my alphabet. That is not great. And Defensive Recovery is going to go there. And Deceptive Fighting goes before that as well. And let's see, and for those listening home, I'm just dragging and dropping these suckers around, so it's a pretty handy way to reorganize. And the reason I want to do this is because when I turn the edits off on this, check it out. Displays everything in nice. I gotta switch one thing. It displays everything in this really nice character sheet where everything's easy to read, and you can click on it and use any of those abilities at your leisure. I'll modify again. This will go right there. And create a those streets. Martial arts. Yes. Done. Turn off edits. All right. So that is Zerai together there, Jeff. That's pretty cool. What are you thinking of them so far?
Awesome. I think it turned out pretty cool so far. He's done a lot of stuff that I'm a little bit familiar with, like I said, from playing Trader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's also quite different than Trader. So I think it'll be fun. It's a different take on a monk. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's kind of neat seeing him lean really heavily into the unarmed martial arts stuff. Well, you know what? Let's see, did I have that listed correctly? Yeah, so your unarmed strike is with 1 boon, it's finesse. and you can do up to 2d6 extra damage. And what I'll do is I will add another weapon for you here. So if you are going to do the two, like you're going to do single target, I'll put down unarmed master strike. And then that will just be doing the 5d6. So that's you expending all of your abilities to hit for as much damage as you possibly can. And let's make sure that rolls. Once you click on, turn that off, the edits, click on unarmed master strike for me. Let's see how that works.
Is that on talents or?
No, under the, just where the weapons are normally. Yeah.
Oh, there, I see it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let's see how it, make sure it rolls properly. Whoa! Look at that. 26 versus defense, which means you would stun someone with that. 18 points of damage, and it's stunned. That's fucking crazy.
Wow, that's awesome.
Okay, so here's what your special ability is going to do, or your not your special ability, your magic item. So I'm looking at the Freeport Companion, because the Freeport Companion has some really good D&D style magic items in it, which are good to work from as kind of a you know, something to crib from. And keep looking at the monsters here. Here they are. All right, so I think what you're going to get is the weapon that does, so it's prayer beads, effectively, that you've got. And prayer beads do three different things. One of them is it grants you +1 boon and +1 damage, 1d6 damage on unarmed attacks. So that'll be pretty good. It allows you to, where's the, sorry, teleportation. You can use the thing once per day to use Boundless Step. It's a rank 3 teleportation ability. On each of your turns for the duration, you can use a triggered action to teleport to an open space you can see within medium range.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. And then once per day, you can use Travel, which is a rank 5 ability, which is a rank 5, not ability, rank 5 spell. You touch up to 5 willing targets you can reach and name one destination. You make an intellect challenge roll, which I may impose Banes on. A success, you teleport to the destination. On a failure, each target teleports separately to a location within 1d20 miles of the destination. So you'll always end up going there, and then but it's a question as to whether you guys all travel together. The spell as written is not restricted to where you're going. So I can go anywhere. So for instance, this is sort of how I'm picturing you travel the different planes.
Oh, sweet.
Mm-hmm. I am also giving you a ring. Well, I'm gonna ring. What do you think would be a cool magic item that he would carry on? Like, not necessarily. I don't mean like the item itself. I mean, like, where would he? What would it be? Would it be like, you know, arm bands, like wraps for a martial artist, or do you think it would be like sandals or like a robe?
I'm picturing like a medallion, actually.
A medallion. Okay, cool. I like that. So what you've also got is a medallion that will allow you to. So I'm turning to the changeling ancestry. So what it is going to allow you to do is disguise yourself. And I think that if I can just use the rules for the changeling ability, you can use an action to alter your appearance to match that of a living creature you can see within short range. I think that's a little too restrictive. Yeah, hold on. Let me take a look at the illusion spells. Maybe there's something that fits better what I had in mind. Oh, disguise, huh? You touch the target and confer an illusory disguise that lasts for the duration for 1 hour. You decide what the disguise looks like. You can increase or decrease the target's apparent height by up to 25%. You can change the appearance of the clothing and equipment, although the effect does not mask any sounds it normally makes. So I think that's what it'll do, is you can use it 3 times per day, and you can disguise yourself. So that means you can't just disguise yourself and stay as one, a permanent identity. But what it'll allow you to do is to disguise yourself when needed, lasting for an hour each. That will be your medallion, and your prayer beads will be the thing that will allow you to teleport. And I'll add those rules in before Friday's session.
Cool.
Okay. So that should get. But what I can do right now is I'll add those modifiers to your attacks, though. So let's just make sure I don't forget to do that. So just 2 boons, and that does 3d46, and that one does 66. Add pass. Okay. And that's not including your key strike. Because your key strike, you could do an extra d6 as well. So in theory, you could do up to 7d6 damage, bam, with your unarmed strike.
Wow.
Pretty badass. Okay.
That is very dangerous.
That is a very, yeah, and the fact that he's unarmed too, so it can kind of come out of nowhere. So let's just very quickly talk about what his role is going to be for that session then too. So what's going to happen next session is, well, first off, there's going to be a fight with the dragon. You're going to die, or your Oberon is going to fall into the, the thing, and you're going to have a chance to have that scene with Arrakis. And I'll let you, Dave does not know this is happening, so it's going to be, I think, a really fun scene to play out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because it's
excited about that.
Oberon trying to convince his brother not to fall to darkness and whatever. And then what I'm going to do is, after that, the guys will need to talk to the, what do you call it? They're going to need to figure out how to get to that, the device or whatever that will lead them to, or to seal off the highways through the Darklands, right?
Right.
So what I'm picturing is that at some point, now just forgive me for giving you spoilers here, Jeff, but the Master of the Order is dead. So what James's character could do is summon that spirit and try and talk to it to get get the information out of the dead Templar who runs the monastery. But if he doesn't think of doing that, then they're going to encounter that undead dwarf, the spectral wraith that was going. So if we can find a dramatically appropriate moment to introduce this guy, we're going to do that, and that's the character you're going to play. But because what's going to happen is after you guys find out where this place is, they're going to go there. And I think what might make sense, because there's stuff, I don't want to spoil the session for you, what's happening there and what they're going to find there, but I think what might make sense is, if you don't mind playing yet another character in this, is if you play that undead dwarf for that, because he's going to accompany the guys. He's the one who knows where this, where to go to access this thing. And I sort of had in mind that, like, this device needs to be set off by someone. Like, there's going to be someone who's going to wait behind. So I kind of was thinking of this NPC. It's a really, pretty obvious plot twist. But I thought that rather than one of the characters sacrifice themselves, you'll play this badass dwarven, revenant dwarven knight for that session, for the combat part of it. Yeah. And you could actually even charge in to help them with the dragon if you want.
Oh, cool. Yeah, okay.
Because it'd be cool to you be kind of on the back of this, like, spectral ram, charcoal colored ram that, like, charges through the sky with burning hooves. And that could be the guy who intervenes to try and save the monastery from the dragon, right? And then they find the guy dead, and then you lead them to this underground thing. You go through a crazy fight with them there, but then at the end of that, your character has to stay behind to sort of like, you know, it's the guy. So I'm sure there's examples I'm just not thinking of right now, but it's the guy who sticks behind to set off the bomb, right? Like, you know, someone needs to be here to make sure this goes off. So you guys get out of here.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that's what he's going to do. And what I think would be funny is if that becomes not like they're going to think it's a running joke that at the end of each session we kill your character.
Right. Okay. Sure.
You know, and then what we do is at the end of that session, there's another development that's going to lead into the penultimate session, which will be then, you know, Zerai steps out from the shadows and is like, you know, here's what we need to do, you know, and because what I want the guys to feel at the end of it is that there are so many fucking threats that are on the move right now. How the fuck do we address this? How do we stop, you know, this war on 4 different fronts when we've got, you know, a bunch of different things to do? And that's when your character will step out. That's when Zerai will step out, and you will offer them the way to get. You're going to be the way that the guys get from the Elsyr Vale to the Flawless City.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay? And your character will be the one who, or Zerai at least, will be the one to transition him in. Is that okay with you if we do it that way?
Yeah, sure.
Because I just, you know, like the other way we could do it is that Zerai goes in and fights with, you know, with you guys against the dragon, and then there's this dwarf who's effectively like an NPC, and he doesn't need to join the fight with the dragon, but like the more I thought about it, the more I'm thinking that it might be fun for you to play a dwarven revenant knight kind of guy who's actually engaged in like mounted combat against this thing. The use of the griffins did not play out as I was kind of hoping last session. Like I thought it'd be much cooler where the griffins were being used a lot more, but that just didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. Like, you tell me what would be more fun for you? Do you think? Because it doesn't need to play that way. That's just one way of me thinking it through. The other way could be that Zerai jumps in to this thing and like uses his, you know, that ability to teleport to, you know, leap onto the back of the dragon and start laying into it.
I think they both could work. I'm cool playing the NPC for next session. If that's what you want to do, then maybe you might want to send me an email with like story notes or things that I should know or say or jump in.
For that guy, and I got to check his name actually because I really don't remember what the hell his name was. I said that in the Iron Gods. There's a Shadow of the Demon Lord. There we go. His name is. There was something the. What is it here? Oh yeah, and there's that surprise that we've got planned for the final session as well too. So, okay, I don't have to listen to it, but you know which one I'm talking about. That I think it's Rakbur or something like that. Who is Moged the Unworthy? He was the cursed dwarven spirit. Remember, he was the guy who wanted to be a Templar, and then he found himself unworthy, but then basically like starved himself to death or died of exposure outside the monastery trying to continue on with his training. And then he appears as this, like, when there are holy days to Moradin, he appears on the slopes of the Hammer, the mountain that looks down at the monastery of the Broken Chain, and people can't tell whether it's a sinister view or a good view. Like, this isn't a dwarf spirit who survived through to undeath and just wants redemption. Wants to prove himself as a true acolyte of Moradin. And that's basically your motivation for that session. And actually, you know what? Like the lead up, if we want to play up the sort of the fun, actually, I won't say more because I got I think a fun surprise twist coming in each of the ends of the next bunch of sessions are, I think, going to be going like bigger and bigger and bigger in scale leading up to the final session.
Right.
And one of the things we do need to do is we will need to level Oberon up to level 10.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because even though he's dead, he, and I think that's, we're not going to kill Zerai, at the second session, but I think it would be, it'd be kind of funny if at the end of each session it was a surprise to the guys that, oh fuck, another one of Jeff's characters died. Like because the dwarf is only going to be there for the one session, then he's gonna have to stay behind to set off that device, and then you guys will have to, the rest of the party's gonna be like, what the fuck? We don't have this guy anymore, and what are we gonna do? And then you can step in and, be Zerai. And the thing about Zerai, he's gonna look just like the other enemy. He's gonna be effectively indistinguishable from them. So what I might do is just narrate that scene in of you coming out, and then we'll leave that as the cliffhanger. And then at the start of the next session, that will be you guys. We'll see what happens in the session, and we'll role play it out with them reacting to this, this apparent Gith Zerai suddenly being, or Githenkai suddenly being there, and then it'll be you role playing with Brent and the rest of the party to see like, no, I'm not the, I'm not the enemy, and blah blah blah, and then bring them to the Flawless City. Because I see that one being a lot of role playing. That will probably be the first opportunity that Ember will have to contact her father and see what the hell he wants her to do, and what he's offering. And then there'll be the scene in the Flawless City, or the session in the Flawless City, and then it will be the final session, which will be there's a big fucking battle coming, and it will be playing out in that last session, and that'll be when you guys are at level 10. And I'm not going to tell you why that battle's happening, but it is definitely a check in the mail. But
nice.
Yeah, and then I think that that last session is where we will likely see Oberon again.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He's not dead. And then, so what it'll give you is, while you're going to be shuffling through a couple of characters here, I think what it'll do is it'll give you some really fun opportunities to take the narrative lead here. And it'll give you 2 sessions where you're really going to be the star role-playing, character for the opening bit of the session.
Right.
Fridays is going to be you and Rakus doing some serious role-playing in character, and then the start of the next session will be you playing Zerai, trying to role-play through. So what I'd love to do is have at the end of Friday's session, we end it on kind of a end of Empire note. So we had a really rough end to the last session. I want there to be even more, bad news, or feeling of like, we've got some successes, but Jesus Christ, we sure lost a lot, and there's a lot of things to face. And then to leave it on a cliffhanger where things look really fucking bad, and we won't tell the guys that you're actually playing that character. And then we'll start the next session with you role playing that character, and we won't tell them. We'll just sort of like, start the session, and then you can launch in with role playing the character.
Yeah, sweet.
Which would be kind of a fun, sly, like, oh my god, we left, because I'm gonna play it up the same way I always do, right? Where it's like, you guys are ambushed by this guy who's so powerful as to be able to track you all the way here. They knew your plans from beforehand, And then what I'll do is I'll sort of build it up, and then he says, and then I'll, kind of like gesture to you and be like, Jeff?
Yeah.
And that's when the people are like, wait a minute, what? So.
Right, like, okay, you guys obviously planned this.
Exactly. So it'll be a fun little, shell game for the for the other players. Plus, it also, it'll give them almost a month where they're thinking, I'm killing one of your characters every session.
Which is fun.
Which will be a fun, I'm forcing you to play a little bit of a co-DM role, but I promise you that it will pay off in that final session with your original character, where he gets to really, like that, it's going to be that like insanely dramatic moment where all hope feels lost and whatever, and then suddenly Oberon's there.
Yeah, I think that'll be pretty awesome.
Well, in particular, you know what's cool is they have definitely felt the absence of the healer when the healer has not been there, right? Think of how fucking bad things are going to be in that last session. You know, the biggest of big stakes that they're going to be facing. No one healing there. Only the best options they've got are their self-heal options that they get from the novice path, which everyone seems to fucking forget about all the time anyway.
I know, it's so funny. No one almost ever uses those things.
No, I think that I've seen them used maybe 3 times.
And they're so good, most of them.
Oh, totally. You know, and it's one of the ways to save your own bacon rather than relying just on the heals.
Right.
You know, so, but yeah, that's what we're building up towards, is a real epic finish to this fucking this campaign. Then what I will do is, and I'll send you once I type up that character, because now I got another character. Once I type up that character, I'm gonna try and do it tomorrow night, and I will give you access to it so you can take a peek beforehand, or we can meet up beforehand on Friday and have a quick chat about what the character can do and whatever.
Sure, yeah.
So we can play him.
I'm usually online a little bit before everyone else anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. So great. Cool. Well, that is excellent. I should give you a little, we're a little early for the session right now, but at the time of recording, the Winnipeg Jets are playing in the playoffs, and Jeff and I are both from Manitoba, so I think that playoff game is calling. So why don't we, I'm going to stop sharing right now, and I'll go back to my regular camera, turn the camera off and back on. So I can open up the camera off again. See if I can get, oh, you know what I got to do is get out of full 20. And then I'll turn the camera back on. It should be at, there we go, full resolution. So, for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for this character creation session for our Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign. I will change the title of this video so that it correctly describes what's going on and include it in the playlist for the Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign, the Scales of War campaign. But I hope that this is giving you some insight as to how characters evolve and how characters level up in the course of the Shadow of the Demon Lord campaign. To give, for those who aren't familiar with that particular game, the character we created is, you know, 2 levels away from endgame. So we managed to talk about the story background for this character and put stats to it in the span of about an hour and a half, which is pretty fucking good. And that includes me taking time to type up things. So one of the things I particularly like about this game is that the character creation for these for this particular game is you get to have a lot of interesting decisions you get to make, but it doesn't take for fucking ever. You know, you're not referencing a zillion different things, and if this was a spellcaster, obviously it would take us more time. But yeah. So anyway, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding tonight's session or character creation session, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section below, and I will endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. Otherwise, we hope you have found this interesting and hopefully not too tedious. And if you are listening to this at or near the time of recording, we will hope to see you at the next session where this character gets to be introduced in a very sinister fashion. Otherwise, thanks for listening, and we'll see you folks again soon. Bye.